There are going to be other videos that I post of this, but this video is going to be a quick overview of what this project is and its main functionalities, and you're going to be able to see it in real action. The first thing we're going to be doing in this project is being able to show the just-in-time access. So we have something that's on Azure, and I need to be able to get access to it. So through the Terraform code that has been made here, there are a few resources that have been made. Some of them are fundamental, such as the resource group and the virtual network here. But what's important is that we have these SQL Server and storage account resources that exist within here. So we have a storage account, and this storage account is going to be holding our data that we're going to be deploying. We're going to deploy everything inside of a package, and then the storage account is going to be where it is. And then we're going to have the Linux function app, which is going to be the framework that's going to be waiting for some communication to be sent to it. And when it is, it's going to respond. So you will notice here that I've made it in Canada Central right here, these other resources here. That is important because I was having difficulty trying to find a good place to be able to deploy the Linux function app in. So I just made I made it inside of Canada Central, because Canada Central was the first place that I tried after trying about 4 different other regions where it was able to work. And then these other resources had to match that one as well. So that's why those are also deployed in Canada Central. But most of them here are created through East US region. So when we make a pull request on this, and this is how the Terraform is going to be created, is that this is going to connect to a Terraform Enterprise workspace that I have made. I've linked to Terraform Enterprise workspace here. So when I make changes to it, you can see right here, it's going to show me what it expects. It's called the Terraform plan. So it's going to tell me what it expects to do if I were to merge my code changes. So you can see on my Terraform Enterprise workspace right here that this is linked to the repository, which you can see over here on the left. Right, excuse me. And then we have the runs over here. I've been making a lot of runs, and I've been making a lot of changes as I've been doing this. But whenever we make changes on the repository, that it's going to create a Terraform plan right here. So what this means is that we have created all of the resources on the Azure subscription by using this, since that Terraform Enterprise Workspace is now connected to my Azure subscription. So with all the resources that I have over here in these TF files, such as these Azure policies, the AKS is commented out, key vault, managed identity, that all these resources are then linked and they are created on my Azure subscription. So that's the Terraform side of everything. And now we are going to be getting into the deployment side of this, where it's going to be a continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. So if we go over here to the workflows that I have here, we have this common workflow file that I have set up. So it's going to run whenever a pull request is made against main. And it's also going to run whenever something is merged into main. Now, there's quite a few things that this pipeline is going to be doing. It's going to be running some vulnerability scanning, for example, with these right here. And then what it's going to be doing is taking my C# code that I have here, which we'll get to in a moment, and it's going to take it, it's going to build it and deploy it, and it's going to put it inside of a package and then is going to put that onto a package on a storage account that exists in my Azure subscription. So that's what all these different steps are doing right here. So now if we go over here to the source, then we can see the C# code that is made over here. So the most important one is going to be the JIT access, just-in-time access C# file that we have here. So this is the crux of all of these C# files that I have over here. And I could explain for a while about what all of these things are doing. But in short, this is going to be waiting for a request to come to it, where it's going to get a request from a user, and the user is going to say, here is my IP address. I want to be able to access the SQL database that you have, or whatever it is that it's trying to access. But in this case, it's going to be a SQL database. So the code is going to accept it, and it's going to allow them right here for 1 hour to be able to access that SQL database. So it's going to create a firewall for them, and it's going to say, allow access through this IP address and keep it there for 1 hour. And then this is where we get to the other important program that we have for our C#, which is that it's going to be the cleanup program here. And this is going to run every 5 seconds. You can see right here. And it's going, I'm sorry, I said 5 seconds, every 5 minutes. And it's going to check to see how long it's been, because we're only supposed to be giving them access for 1 hour. So this is going to check every 5 minutes to see whether an hour has passed or not. If an hour has passed, then it's going to take that rule that it's made and it's going to delete it. So this is something that's going to be continuously running again and again, and making sure that when somebody shouldn't have access to the SQL database, that they won't anymore. So to come back here to our CI/CD pipeline, it's going to take all of that code and it's going to deploy it inside of an Azure storage account. And then we're going to have an Azure function app, which is going to be using that code inside of the storage account. So here are my storage accounts on my Azure subscription. The one that's going to be holding the packaging for us here is this storage account, function, my resource group dev, and it's going to be inside of the containers right here. So when our function app needs to get the data, this is where we'll get it from. And then over here where we have the function apps, this is the function app that I have made that is going to be taking the requests and serving them. And we can see that these were the 2 C# programs that had been made earlier. So they're both right here, and they're both going to be run with the function app whenever they're needed. So if we go over here to the settings right here, then we can see the environment variables, and then website run from package. So this is going to tell the function app where to get the code from. So if we expand it right here, storage accounts are accessible over the internet. So this is going to use an HTTP call to be able to go to the storage account, which you can see matches the name of the storage account that we were looking at earlier. And it's going to go to the blob so it can access those containers that we saw earlier. And this is how it knows where to get the code from and how to run it. Before we continue any further, I want to show you the SQL database that I have right here. So here it is. Let's say that it's holding my super important sensitive information within here. So I'm now going to go over here to networking. And as you can see, it is not allowing me access to it because it has no IP addresses right here. So normally I'm not able to be getting access to this through a public IP address. So I just want you to see this right here. There are a few different ways to be able to find out what your IP address is for your machine. The quickest way to do it is to search for what is my IP address and then go to this website, what is my IP address, and it will show you right here. You can see here at the top. There we go. So now with this right here, I have the curl command that I'm going to need to be sending. This is the command that's going to connect to the function app and it's going to tell us what we want. So we have our public IP address right here, and now we need to replace this right here so that when we send the command, it's going to specify what it wants the firewall rule, which IP address it should be for. So now here I am on my git bash. So I'm going to send in the command that I got earlier. Also right here where it says HTTPS and then it says func.jit.access. This is the public IP domain that you can use for your function app. And you can get it by just looking at the function app on the Azure portal. So that would also be different depending on the function app that you are using. Now let's run this command. All right, so it specifies right there that access was granted. It is telling me when it's going to expire, which is an hour from now. Now that I have put in that command, let's go back to the SQL server that I have right here, and let's just reload the page and see what it says now. And there it is. So this is the rule that it created for me. And this is my IP address right here. So it's specifying that I now have access to this SQL Server database, which is very cool. So this is how we were able to provide just-in-time access for the SQL Server database. Even though I have network access to it to be able to fiddle around with the SQL Server, I'm still going to need to know the username and the password to it. And since I don't have that, that means that I'm still blocked from getting into it. So this can be thought of as another layer of defense for something that is having sensitive information. So now that we've done all of this, let's do a bit of cleaning up and let's see if everything is actually revoked. The firewall is removed after an hour has passed. So over here, I have my application insights and I am on the logs portion over here. And I have this simple query that I'm doing right here. And when I run this, then it's going to give me information on what's happening. And you can see right here that it specifies that the rule that was made inside of the SQL Server was just made. And it also specifies that it's going to expire in 60 minutes. So let's come back in 60 minutes and see whether it's deleted or not. And then if we look at this here, then we can see that it's giving us some logs on how much time it has left. So it said here that it has 5 minutes left. And then after the full 60 minutes had passed, we can now see that it's being deleted. And then if we go over to the SQL Server itself, we can see that there is no longer a network rule with that information, and it was removed automatically.